The first thing you need to understand about humans is that they lie to themselves constantly. They pretend they're civilized. They wear their little clothes, drink their overpriced beverages, and have entire conversations about weather patterns like it matters. But underneath all that performance, underneath the pleasantries and the social contracts, there's something else waiting. I learned this the hard way. My name is Karix, and I'm a military analyst for the Vothrine Dominion. Was, technically, past tense. Because after what I witnessed during the Sol System incident, I'm pretty sure my career is over. Not that it matters anymore. Nothing really matters after you've seen what I've seen. Let me back up. 3 cycles ago, the Dominion decided Earth would make an excellent addition to our empire. Standard procedure, really. We'd done this dance with 47 other species. You show up, demonstrate superior firepower, offer them a choice between servitude and extinction, and boom! New territory acquired. The humans had barely figured out faster than light travel. Their weapons were crude. Their ships were held together with what I can only describe as aggressive optimism and duct tape. It should have been easy. Commander Vrel, bless his overconfident heart, actually laughed when he saw their defense fleet. Laughed. Out loud. In front of everyone on the bridge. I remember thinking at the time that maybe, just maybe, laughing at your enemy before you've actually fought them was tempting fate a little too hard. But what did I know? I was just the analyst. The guy who reads reports and draws graphs that nobody looks at. The initial engagement went exactly as predicted. We destroyed 3 of their orbital stations within the first rotation. Their counterattacks bounced off our shields like insects hitting a view screen. Vrel was already composing his victory report. I was already calculating resource extraction timelines. Then everything went sideways. The Prost transmission came through on all frequencies. Every single one. Military, civilian, even the emergency channels we thought they didn't know about. A woman's voice, calm as someone ordering lunch, spoke in perfect Vothrine. You have attacked Earth. This was your first mistake. It will also be your last. Vrel actually snorted. Threats from a dying species. How original. But I noticed something. The background noise in that transmission. It wasn't the sterile silence of a command center. It was wind. Real wind. Howling across open terrain. And beneath that, a sound I couldn't quite place. A rhythmic thumping that made my secondary heart skip. That's when their ships changed. I don't mean they launched new vessels. I mean the ships they already had in space. The ones we'd been systematically dismantling, they just transformed. Hulls reconfigured. Weapons systems emerged from places where there shouldn't have been space for weapons systems. Energy signatures spiked across the spectrum. Our tactical officer, a usually composed female named Thess, actually whispered, "What in the void are they?" The answer came fast. They were gamers. See, here's what we missed in our intelligence reports. Here's what nobody thought to mention because it seemed so absurdly irrelevant. Humans have this thing they do for entertainment. They simulate warfare. They've been doing it for generations. Thousands upon thousands of hours, millions of individuals, practicing combat scenarios that don't exist. Building strategies for wars that never happened. Optimizing, theorizing, min-maxing their way through every possible conflict configuration. And then, they built their military ships with the same systems. The woman's voice came back on the comms. Activating war mode protocols. Authorization. Apex 7 Omega. All vessels, weapons free. Show them why Earth doesn't lose. What happened next still doesn't make sense to me. Even after reviewing the battle recordings 40 times. Their ships moved like they were being piloted by precognitive beings. Every maneuver we attempted, they'd already countered. Every formation we deployed, they'd already broken. It was like fighting an opponent who'd played through this exact scenario 1,000 times before, because they had. One of their fighters, an absurdly small craft that should have been nothing more than a minor nuisance, took out our starboard destroyer, alone. A single pilot in a ship roughly the size of our escape pods destroyed a vessel that required a crew of 200. The maneuver was called something ridiculous. A barrel roll? No. An aileron roll with a split-second weapon discharge during the rotation's apex. Frame. Perfect timing. The kind of thing that should be impossible under combat stress. Their pilot was laughing the entire time. We could hear it on the open channel. Actual laughter, mixed with what I can only describe as excited shouting. Did you see that? Did you see that shot? Oh, that's going in the highlight reel. They were having fun. We were dying. And they were having the time of their lives. Vrel finally showed something resembling concern. Fall back to defensive formation. Shield priority on the flagship. Too late. Their main assault had just begun. The transmission that followed came from a different human, male voice this time, with an accent I couldn't place. Attention, Dominion Fleet. You're cordially invited to get absolutely wrecked. Signed, the entire human race. Postscript. We've been training for this our whole lives. You're basically a tutorial mission. A tutorial mission. We were being compared to a training exercise. The disrespect was almost admirable. Their capital ship emerged from behind Luna, Earth's satellite. Not decloaking. Not jumping in. Just floating there, where it had apparently been waiting the entire time. It was massive, easily twice the size of our flagship, and covered in weapons that seemed to violate at least 3 laws of physics I was personally familiar with. The name painted on its hull, Respawn Denied. What kind of species names their warship after a gaming term? What kind of military allows that? The kind that wins, apparently. They opened fire with everything. Not tactically, not strategically. Just overwhelming, absurd firepower from every weapon system simultaneously. Our shields held for approximately 4 seconds. Then, the impacts started getting through. Hull breaches, system failures, crew sections, venting to space. Thess was frantically trying to coordinate damage control. Sections 12 through 18 are gone. Engineering is not responding. Medical bay is. Wait, I'm getting secondary explosions in the ammunition stores. How are their weapons hitting internal systems? Because they weren't just hitting us. They were hitting us perfectly. Every shot placed for maximum damage. Every impact calculated to cascade into secondary failures. This wasn't warfare. This was speed running. They were trying to set a record for fastest fleet destruction. And they were succeeding. A smaller human vessel, something they called a corvette, pulled alongside our flagship. Its weapons were already glowing, preparing to fire at point-blank range. The pilot, a woman whose call sign was something absurd like Pixel, opened a direct channel to our bridge. Hey there, Commander Vrel. Quick question. Do you feel pride and accomplishment yet? Because you're about to feel something way worse. She fired directly into our engine core. The explosion that followed took out our entire propulsion system and most of our aft sections. We were dead in space, spinning slowly, leaking atmosphere and bodies, but we were alive. Barely. Vrel was screaming orders that nobody could follow because half the crew was dead and the other half was trying not to join them. I was trapped under a collapsed support beam, my suit's integrity compromised, watching my own air supply counter-tick. Down. That's when she appeared. Through the smoke and the sparks and the screaming, she walked onto our bridge. Somehow. Impossibly. A human woman in full combat armor, carrying a weapon that looked like it had been designed by someone who watched too many action films and decided reality was negotiable. She'd boarded us during an active space battle, through hull breaches and hard vacuum, and she was walking through our flagship like she owned it. Her helmet retracted, and I saw her face. Young, couldn't have been more than 20 cycles, grinning like she'd just won a competition. Her armor had a name stenciled on it, Kira Vex. She looked at Vrel, who was clutching his command chair like it might save him, and she spoke in flawless Vothrine. So, here's the thing about humans. We don't just fight wars, we perfect them. We simulate them. We break them down into mathematics and muscle memory, and then, when someone actually attacks us? She stepped closer, her boots crunching on broken glass and debris. We treat it like content. You're not an invasion force. You're a raid boss. And buddy, we've already looked up the strategy guide. Vrel tried to say something. Maybe a threat. Maybe a plea. I couldn't hear it over the sound of secondary explosions and dying crew members. Kira raised her weapon, but she didn't fire. Instead, she activated something on her wrist. A holographic display appeared, showing battle statistics, kill counts, damage percentages. Time elapsed, like she was checking her score. Here's what happens next. You surrender. You pull back every ship you have from Earth space. You go home and you tell your leaders that Sol System is off limits. Forever. Because, if you come back, she smiled, and it was the most terrifying expression I've ever seen. We'll be waiting, and next time, we won't be warming up. Our communications officer, somehow still alive at her station, whispered, "They're not even using their full military. These are volunteers, civilians. They called it a gaming event. They're live streaming this. Live streaming. They were broadcasting our destruction as entertainment." Kira turned to leave, walking back through the hole she'd apparently cut in our hull. But she stopped at the threshold, looking back over her shoulder. "Oh, and Karix? Yeah, I know your name. The analyst who predicted we'd fold in 3 days?" She winked. Actually winked. "Better update your models. Earth doesn't fold. We go hard, or we go home. And guess what? We're already home." Then she jumped. Out into space. Into nothing. Her armor's thrusters fired, carrying her back toward her own ship, leaving us alone with our failure and our dead. The battle lasted another 2 rotations. We lost 60% of our fleet. The humans lost maybe 12 ships, and from what I understand, they held memorial services for those crews while simultaneously breaking down what went wrong in their tactics, analyzing their own mistakes, learning from a battle they'd won decisively. That's when I understood. That's when it all clicked into horrible, perfect clarity. Every other species in the galaxy treats war like a last resort, a terrible necessity, something to be avoided. Humans treat it like a skill, something to be practiced, refined, and mastered. They've been training for galactic conflict since before they even knew there was a galaxy to fight in. Thousands of years of combat evolution. Millions of individuals spending billions of hours learning how to kill more efficiently. And they call it fun. Commander Vrel didn't make it home. His injuries were too severe. I'm told his last words were, "How? How did they know?" The answer was simple. They'd done this before. Maybe not in reality, but in simulation? In theory? In practice? They'd fought this exact war 1,000,000 times. They'd lost it, learned from it, optimized their response, and tried again. By the time we showed up, we weren't fighting Earth. We were fighting a species that had already defeated us in 10,000 parallel scenarios. We just didn't know it yet. I'm writing this report from a medical station at the edge of Dominion space. My injuries will heal. The damage to our fleet will be repaired. But the damage to our understanding? to our confidence? That's permanent. Because now we know. Humanity doesn't just defend their home. They've been preparing to defend it since before they even had enemies. They took their survival instinct, their competitive nature, their bizarre love of challenge, and they weaponized it. They turned leisure into training. They turned entertainment into doctrine. And the scariest part? They haven't even mobilized their actual military yet. Everything we faced was volunteers, weekend warriors, people who fight aliens as a hobby. I don't want to know what their professionals can do. The Dominion Council is debating our next move. Some want to regroup and attack with overwhelming force. Others want to quarantine the entire Sol system and pretend it doesn't exist. A few, the smart ones, want to open diplomatic channels and pray that humans are as interested in peace as they are in warfare. Me? I'm putting in for early retirement. I've seen enough. I've learned my lesson. Earth isn't just dangerous because of their technology or their tactics. They're dangerous because they genuinely, honestly, enthusiastically love this. They've turned war into art, and they're really, really good at it. So, if you're reading this, if you're in a position of authority, if you have any influence over military decisions, here's my professional recommendation. Leave Earth alone. Just don't. Whatever you think you'll gain, whatever strategic advantage you imagine, it's not worth it. They're not worth it. Because the moment you attack, the moment you give them a reason to activate war mode, you're not fighting a military. You're fighting an entire civilization that's been practicing this exact scenario since they were children. And they never, ever lose twice. 6 months after the incident, I'm still alive. That's more than I can say for my credibility. The Dominion Council rejected my report, called it cowardice disguised as analysis, accused me of embellishing human capabilities to excuse our failure. They sent 3 more fleets to Sol System, bigger fleets, better equipped, led by Admiral Tornax, who had a reputation for grinding lesser species into dust. None of them came back. Well, that's not entirely true. 1 ship returned. A scout vessel. Its entire crew was comatose, except for the navigation officer, who kept repeating the same phrase over and over. They're in the walls, they're in the code, they're everywhere. He died 2 days later. Medical staff said his brain had basically shut down from psychological trauma. What kind of combat causes that? What kind of enemy breaks your mind just by existing? I'm currently on Station Kelvar, a neutral trading hub where information flows more freely than liquor. The Dominion wants me back for questioning, but the station authorities are dragging their feet on extradition. Probably because half the species here are now terrified of humanity, and they want to hear what I know. So, I talk. I tell my story to anyone who'll listen. And lately, everyone's listening. There's a Threxian merchant named Bolo, who runs a bar near the docking ring. He pours something that tastes like battery acid mixed with regret, and he loves hearing about the humans. Says it's good for business. Fear makes people drink. Tell me again about the one who boarded your ship, Bolo said last night, sliding another glass across the counter. The girl with the smile. Kira Vex. I've memorized everything about that encounter. Her face haunts my sleep cycles. She moved like gravity was optional, I told him. Like physics was a suggestion she'd decided to ignore. And the confidence. Bolo. She had the confidence of someone who'd already won before the fight started. A Quilxian pilot, sitting 3 stools down, snorted. Propaganda. No species is that good. Your commanders underestimated them, that's all. I turned to look at her. Young, arrogant, exactly like I used to be. You're right, I said. We did underestimate them. We thought they were primitive, disorganized, easy prey. Want to know what they actually are? She waited. They're a species that invented competitive activities specifically to train for war without calling it war. They build virtual realities where millions practice combat every single day. They create scenarios that are harder than actual warfare, just to see if they can beat them. And when real combat finally arrives, I finished my drink. They complain it's too easy. The pilot looked uncomfortable. Good. But here's what I haven't told anyone yet. Here's the part that keeps me awake during rest cycles. 3 weeks ago, I received a message. Encrypted, routed through 17 different relay stations, untraceable. It was from Kira Vex. The message was short. Hey Karix, saw your report circulating on the galactic net. Nice write-up. Couple of corrections though. We weren't volunteers. We were beta testers. The real military hasn't deployed yet. Also, you spelled my call sign wrong. It's Vex, with 2 X's. Details matter. Stay safe out there. Oh, and tell your council that Earth's offering a one-time amnesty. Pull back all hostile forces from human-affiliated systems within 30 days, and we'll call it even. After that? The message included a shrugging emoji, an actual emoji in a military communication. After that, we stop playing defense and start playing ranked competitive. You don't want that. Trust me. Beta testers. They sent beta testers to defeat our invasion fleet. The humans we fought weren't even their finished product. They were testing their systems, getting feedback, working out bugs. I forwarded the message to Dominion Command. They ignored it. Of course they did. Pride is a terminal disease in our species. The 30-day deadline passed 4 days ago. Yesterday, 7 Dominion worlds went dark. Not destroyed. Dark. Complete communications blackout. When scout ships finally reached them, they found the planets intact. But every military installation completely disabled. Weapons, systems fried. Defense grids offline. Orbital platforms drifting dead in space. No casualties. Not a single death. The humans had surgically removed our military capability without killing anyone. And they'd left messages. Physical messages. Printed on actual paper and pinned to command center doors. Warning 1. You were asked nicely. Warning 2. This is us being nice. Warning 3. There won't be a warning 3. Get out. The Dominion Council is finally starting to panic. Emergency sessions, closed-door meetings, lots of shouting about honor and strength and not bowing to primitives. But the numbers don't lie. I've been compiling data from every engagement, official or otherwise. The humans have a 100% success rate. Every single time. Whether it's fleet actions, boarding operations, or electronic warfare, they win. Sometimes decisively, sometimes barely, but always. And they're getting better. Each engagement shows improved tactics, faster response times, more efficient weapon usage. They're treating galactic warfare like a ladder climb. Each species they defeat is just another rank on their way to the top. Bolo interrupted my thoughts by refilling my glass without asking. You look like you've seen a ghost. Worse, I said. I've seen the future, and we're not in it. A commotion near the entrance caught my attention. Station security was escorting someone through the bar. Someone in civilian clothes, but with military bearing. Human. My blood went cold. The human spotted me immediately, made direct eye contact and smiled. Started walking over. Bolo backed away slowly, suddenly very interested in cleaning glasses at the far end of the bar. She sat down next to me. Young. Maybe 25 cycles. Dark hair, brown skin, and eyes that looked like they'd seen too much and found it amusing. Karix, right? The analyst? I'm Lieutenant Maya Torres. Off duty, technically. Mind if I sit? Like I had a choice. What do you want? To buy you a drink. To talk. To explain some things your people keep getting wrong. She signaled Bolo, who reluctantly approached. Whatever he's having. And something that won't kill me. You guys do have beverages that won't kill humans, right? Bolo nodded frantically and scrambled to prepare drinks. Torres leaned back in her seat, completely relaxed. Like we were old friends catching up. So I read your report, the official one, and the classified addendum you sent to your superiors. Pretty accurate, mostly. You got the fear right. The shock. The confusion. But you missed something important. What's that? We don't want this. The war. The conflict. The whole galactic domination thing. She accepted her drink from Bolo and took a careful sip. Grimaced. Okay, that's terrible. But drinkable. Where was I? Right. We don't want to conquer anyone. We just want to be left alone. Your dominion attacked us. Twice. We responded proportionally both times. Now you're gearing up for round 3, and my superiors are getting frustrated. Proportionally? You devastated our fleets. We disabled your fleets, Torres corrected. Big difference. We could have vaporized every ship, could have tracked them back to your homeworlds and turned your planets into glass. But we didn't. Because despite what you think, we're not monsters. We're just really, really good at this. I took a long drink. Your message said, beta testers, that you haven't deployed your actual military. That's correct. Everything you've encountered so far has been civilian defense forces. Volunteers who signed up for weekend duty. People who have day jobs. The incident with Kira? She's a graphic designer. Her squad includes a teacher, a chef, 2 programmers, and a musician. They fight aliens on Saturdays and go back to regular life on Mondays. The Quilxian pilot, who'd been eavesdropping, actually choked on her drink. Torres continued. Our actual military, the professional soldiers who train full-time, they're currently defending our outer colonies against the Krevan swarm. You know, the species that's been trying to eat its way across the galaxy for the last 1,000 years? We've held them at 3 separate choke points for 18 months. The same Krevan that supposedly wiped out the Tholian Empire. I remembered the Tholian Empire. They'd been one of the oldest civilizations in the galaxy. Advanced. Powerful. The Krevan consumed them in 6 weeks. So let me get this straight, I said slowly. Your weekend warriors destroyed our invasion fleet. Your actual military is busy fighting something worse. And you're here to what? Threaten me? No. I'm here to hire you. Silence. Complete silence. Even the background noise of the bar seemed to stop. Excuse me? Torres pulled out a small device, placed it on the counter between us. Employment offer. We need someone who understands Dominion military doctrine. Someone who can translate cultural context. Someone who's smart enough to realize when they're on the wrong side. She pushed the device toward me. Earth's putting together an advisory board. Species from across the galaxy who can help us avoid misunderstandings. Who can explain to their respective governments that maybe, just maybe, picking fights with humanity is a bad idea. You want me to work for you? After everything. We want you to work for peace. For survival. For a galaxy where humans aren't forced to keep proving how dangerous we are. She finished her drink and stood up. Think about it. The offer's good for 72 hours. After that, things get complicated. My government is tired of pulling punches. There's a faction pushing for more aggressive responses. Preemptive strikes. Demonstrations of force that'll make our previous engagements look like training exercises. That's a threat. That's a warning. From someone who actually likes you. You wrote an honest report. You told the truth when it was unpopular. That takes courage. Torres headed for the exit, then paused. Oh, And Karix? Stop drinking this garbage. It's killing your liver. Whatever species you are doesn't process alcohol well. Medical scans show you've got maybe a year before organ failure. Switch to water. Then she was gone. Just walked out. Left me sitting there with Bolo, the Quilxian pilot, and about 24 other species who'd stopped pretending they weren't listening. The device on the counter blinked softly, waiting for a response. I picked it up. 3 days later, I'm aboard a human transport vessel heading toward Sol system. The ship is called Second Chance, which feels appropriate. The crew is friendly, almost aggressively friendly. They keep offering me food and asking questions about Vothrine culture and apologizing for the accommodations. Sorry, the quarters are small, one crew member said. We designed these ships for humans. Didn't think about other species' space requirements. They're already planning for galactic integration, already assuming peace. Either they're incredibly optimistic or incredibly confident. Maybe both. Torres meets me at the docking bay when we arrive at Earth's primary orbital station. The station is massive, bigger than anything the Dominion ever built. And everywhere I look, I see representatives from other species. Threxians, Quilxians, even a few Krevan, though they're heavily monitored. Welcome to Harmony Station, Torres says. Terrible name, I know. We let the diplomats pick it. Come on, I'll show you around. The tour is overwhelming. Medical facilities using technology I don't recognize. Engineering bays, where humans and aliens work side by side. Recreation areas where different species interact freely. It's chaos. Beautiful chaos. We end up in a conference room overlooking Earth. The planet hangs in the viewport, blue and green and alive. That's home, Torres says quietly. That's what we're protecting. Not through conquest, not through domination, just by being too dangerous to attack. The galaxy will still fear you. Let them. Fear keeps people honest, keeps them from making stupid mistakes. She turned to face me. But fear alone isn't sustainable. Eventually, we need something better. That's where you come in. That's where all of our advisors come in, teaching us how to coexist, how to communicate, how to build something lasting. Over the next weeks, I learn. I attend briefings. I meet with human military leaders who discuss strategy with the same enthusiasm others reserve for art. I watch training exercises where soldiers practice scenarios that haven't happened yet and probably never will. And slowly, I understand. Humans don't love war. They love winning. They love challenges. They love pushing themselves to the absolute limit and finding out what's on the other side. War just happens to be the ultimate test of those qualities. But they'd much rather win at peace, build instead of destroy. Create instead of conquer. They just need everyone else to stop testing them. The Dominion Council finally requests negotiations. Unconditional. No demands. No ultimatums. Just a simple message. We wish to discuss terms. I'm part of the human delegation. Me. The analyst who barely survived. Now, I'm helping broker peace. The negotiations take place on neutral ground. Dominion representatives arrive expecting the worst. Instead, they get reasonable terms. Reparations, yes, but manageable. Territory adjustments, but fair. And most importantly, a mutual defense pact. Earth will help defend Dominion worlds from external threats in exchange for trade agreements and open borders. Commander Vrel's replacement, a cautious female named Serene, looks at the terms and whispers. Why? Why offer us anything? You could dictate whatever you want. The human negotiator, an older man named Director Marcus Webb, smiles. Because galaxies aren't conquered, they're built. One treaty at a time. One alliance at a time. One species learning to trust another. He slid the agreement across the table. We beat you. You know it. We know it. Everyone knows it. That chapter's closed. The question is, what comes next? More fighting? More dying? Or something better? Cyrene signs the treaty. So do representatives from 6 other species who'd been watching the negotiations closely. Earth doesn't become an empire. They become the galaxy's unlikely peacekeepers, the species you call when things go wrong. The civilization that shows up with overwhelming force and uses it to enforce ceasefires rather than claim territory. They're terrifying. Absolutely terrifying. But they're on our side now. I'm writing this final report from my new office on Harmony Station. I'm officially a cultural liaison. My job is helping other species understand humanity, explaining why they do what they do, translating their bizarre combination of humor and lethality into something others can comprehend. It's the strangest career transition imaginable. But it's important work, because the galaxy needs to understand Earth doesn't teach fury. Earth teaches adaptation. They took every challenge, every threat, every limitation, and they turned it into strength. They weaponized their entertainment. They militarized their creativity. They turned survival into a competitive sport. And now they're teaching the rest of us how to survive too. Kira Vex sent me a message last week. Just 3 words. Told you so. She's right. She called it from the beginning. Earth doesn't fold. They adapt. They overcome. They win. But more importantly, they help. Others win too. The machine didn't just say, Earth teaches its own fury. It said something else in those final moments of battle. Something I left out of my original report because I didn't understand it then. War mode online. Peace mode preferred. Choose wisely. They gave us a choice. They always gave us a choice. We just had to be smart enough to make the right one. The galaxy is changing. Old empires are adapting. New alliances are forming. And at the center of it all, impossibly, improbably, are humans. The species that mastered war so thoroughly, they made peace the more attractive option. Looking out at Earth from my station window, watching ships from 100 different species dock peacefully, I finally understand what makes them special. It's not their technology. It's not their tactics. It's not even their terrifying competence. It's their stubborn, ridiculous, absolutely human belief that things can always get better, that yesterday's enemy can become tomorrow's ally, that the skills you build for destruction can be repurposed for creation. They walked through the smoke. They said their piece. And then they offered us a hand up. That's humanity. That's what makes them dangerous and wonderful and absolutely worth knowing. My name is Karix. I was a military analyst for the Vothrine Dominion. Now I'm something better. I'm humanity's friend. And I'm teaching the galaxy that sometimes, just sometimes, the scariest species in the universe is also the one you most want on your side.